As we know, the supermodeling world is dominated by women, but men such as Tyson Beckford have been able to have an equally high-profile career in fashion modeling. Beckford is arguably one of the most famous male models and definitely the most famous black male supermodel. Nevertheless, there is always someone who paves the way, and the man who did was referred to as a flawless physical specimen. His name is Sterling St. Jacques. A jack of many trades, but not a household name. There isn't much information out there about him, but enough to mention his name and pay homage. For that, his influence should not go unrecognized. It is unclear when St. Jacques was born and where. Most sources say he was born in 1957 in Los Angeles, California, or Salt Lake City, Utah. There aren't any records of his birth. It is said that he was either of Brazilian or Jamaican descent. In addition, it is unknown who his biological parents are. In the early 1970s, Raymond St. Jacques, who was an American actor, director, and producer, claimed to have two older sons, Raymond Jr. and Sterling. Raymond is sourced as being a long-time bachelor. In earlier years, Raymond spoke about adopting two young boys ages 6 and 7. But a few years later, in an interview when he stated he had two adult sons, it raised many eyebrows. Rumor mill states that Raymond was Sterling's queen father. Sterling was said to be his boy toy, and Raymond took care of him. There was never any official documentation of these adoptions, and when Raymond died in 1990, his will claimed that he had no children and named only Sterling, whom he identified as his nephew. Raymond left Sterling only $1 from his $750,000 estate. Sterling St. Jacques had a strong 6'2" build, defined cheekbones, and gray eyes, often covered by blue contacts. St. Jacques stepped on the scene in the late 1970s up until the early 1980s. St. Jacques did print and runway for designers such as Yves Saint Laurent, Halston, and Givenchy. Givenchy was said to be at one point Sterling's lover. He also appeared on the cover of Playmen magazine. St. Jacques was well known for being a party boy. He was a great dancer and a frequent at Studio 54. He'd show up with his dance and runway partner and former Ebony Fashion Fair model, Pat Cleveland. Cleveland and St. Jacques got engaged in 1976, but it did not last long because Cleveland found out her fiancé was gay. As a professional dancer, St. Jacques often traveled frequently between New York and Europe. He appeared in movies such as 1973's Book of Numbers, which was directed by his father, Raymond St. Jacques. He also appeared in Eyes of Laura Mars, Dinah East, and an uncredited role in The Wiz. In 1980, St. Jacques released a self-titled album. It is described as electronic disco. You fill my every fantasy. Taking time out together with storm and the weather. Just you and me. In the 1980s, Sterling moved to Europe to try and become a nightclub DJ and advance his modeling career. Soon after, he claimed to the press he was broke and was thinking of opening a dance studio in Manhattan. This idea never came to fruition, and instead he regularly appeared in both high-end and low-brow magazines. He found moderate success as an Italo disco singer. Sources state that St. Jacques died in 1984 due to complications of AIDS, but his death was never confirmed. And in a 1988 interview with the Chicago Tribune, Raymond St. Jacques still claimed to have two sons and said Sterling was appearing on a television show. His true fate remains unknown. If the dates of his birth and death are accurate, then St. John did not live a long life. Nevertheless, he is arguably considered the first black male supermodel. However, he was an overall entertainer, an actor, singer, and dancer that lived his life on the edge and accomplished much. It's unfortunate that there isn't more information regarding his work and accolades, but instead is overshadowed by scandal. Were you familiar with Sterling St. Jacques? How do you feel about his story? If you have more info, be sure to share it in the comment section below. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.